thrilling days of yesteryear on the Lone Ranger. That's exactly what he wanted. So, you know, as a fan, I was hesitant. I mean, in the movie, I was like, kind of didn't. I wasn't. It was like, it kind of was. It was still too new and weird for me in the movie. On TV, it works great. I think the opening announcer dude on the TV series, it works really well. So, you know, again, I'm going, he was right.
And for job security,
yes. Oh, and Admiral Yularen, the British Admiral Yularen, who actually I've been told looks quite a bit like me if he put a brown mustache and a hat on me.
Actually, it's based on a photo of an Imperial officer.
Yeah, there wasn't.
Star Wars.
He was actually in just the scene in the control. What's it called?
The
bridge on the Death Star.
Or on the.
It was Admiral Yularen, and he was an established character that didn't really say anything, but he was there.
Well,
so.
Yeah, he was used in the expanded universe.
But I'm saying on that, that's the first place he appeared.
Yeah, which is interesting. They de-aged him. In that. So.
But my kids were insisting that they thought they drew him to look like me. I said, no, that was just coincidence. I said, no, I think that existed before I was.
You know, the guy with the white hair and
that's right.
Yeah, it's getting one. Now, Matt, most people know the story about how your anonymous voice tape led to you being Grievous in episode 3. Was it sort of a foregone conclusion that you would do Grievous again in the Clone Wars, or how did that come about?
No, actually, is this on?
Hello?
Yeah, you have to be close to it. It's really not a...
Well, actually...
Dave and I were both... we worked on the sound crew at Skywalker Sound of the prequels and then this new show. And we actually met up with Dave Filoni, the director, who was working on the cliff sequence with the walker going up the cliff, and he had some storyboards. And he was a huge Star Wars fan, so when he came to show us the sequence, he didn't expect us to even work on it. He was like, oh, well, here, guys, what do you think of this? And we cut a whole thing together, sound effects and music and everything to help his storyboards when he was working on it. And it was funny, I didn't get the call to do Grievous until my agent from Los Angeles called me telling me they're looking for a Grievous. Even though I work in the building right next to him.
How typical.
Sounds like Lucasfilm to
so
me.
I get this call. They called down to LA putting out a casting package for all these characters to reprise their roles. And a lot of the characters, as we were talking about, like, Ewan McGregor and like Natalie Portman and stuff like that, have, very busy schedules, and they can't take away that kind of time to do that. So we have to find great voiceover sound-alikes. And it's a whole different medium. That's a whole other tangent I could go off on why voice actors are awesome. But
leaving yourself out of it.
Yes, right. They put out the casting package and then said we're looking for a Grievous, and my agent's like, well, I think I got someone that'll work for you. So then that went through my agent, came back up to my desk, all the way 500 miles down to Los Angeles, and the contract came back to me like in the building right next door. So then I ended up doing Grievous, and then I did some Battle Droid work in some of the prequels, so I ended up doing the Battle Droids as well in the new series, love them or hate them, and we get to try out different characters as well. So that's the one fun thing about working at Lucasfilm is that Dave Filoni likes our work. He lets us, hey, why don't you do this droid or this droid or this droid? And since Dave and I both also work on the sound crew, we actually have the advantage of doing the character and then tweaking some of the performances with the technology to sound better, like something that we really want. So but it wasn't.
I know Dave is thrilled to have you two guys working on the series.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, we're right here. This is 2/3 of the sound crew. It's a very small crew. We got another guy who's back home. We had to leave on Thursday, finishing the very last episode of season 1. So to come down here, and so our buddy Juan finished it up on Friday. So we're all done for season 1. We start season 2 in December.
I have to interject something as a fan.
Yeah.
But that's part of what makes this so good. It sounds like Star Wars. So thank you.
Now, burning question I've had. Do you have to continue coughing, or is that just a reused cough from episode 3?
We have a big cough track that we made because a lot of that actually, people probably know this story too, but when we were initially doing the first recordings of Grievous, with George, and he was directing me. He had a really bad cough that day, so at the very end of the session, he came up to the microphone and did some coughing, and then he said to us, like, okay, well, yeah, give me all those takes that we just recorded, and give me that last one too of him coughing. And we didn't know why he was asking for that. We're like, okay, so I processed all those coughs to sound like the dialogue I did plus the cough to sound like Grievous, and he ended up cutting a lot of those in there for Grievous as part of a character thing to show that he's biomechanical. So I've got that set of coughs from Sith that we will use, and then there's some more new ones. If there's something I'm saying in the middle of a line, it's easier for me to just cough in the middle of the line. But yeah, so we just try to get George in there as much as we can too.
You know, here I was worried that he forced you to take up smoking and you
Yeah,
had to take
no.
smoke breaks every 10 minutes as part of the job.
No.
Okay, well that's good. That's good to know. What else are you doing in the series? I'd like you and Dave to explain what you do as part of actually producing the sound and designing the sound.
Sure. I mean, I'll let Dave speak for the sound design part, but my part of it is, you know, we're a very small crew. It's 3 people, so everything you hear in the show comes through our department. It's all the original recordings that are done in Los Angeles and from your recordings that come in as well are taken. They're cut by the picture department to be put into sync with their storyboards and rough animations. Then as soon as that's nailed down, it comes to us, and so we put in all the processing on the droids, all the music, all the footsteps and Foley and little mechanical body movement and specific little props, like if someone picks up a glass and puts it down, you have to have a sound for that kind of stuff. And then Dave, I'll call him Ben Berg Jr., but I know he hates that.
Dave?
Dave, who's worked with us on the prequels, a lot of films, this is his first real big sound design job, and so he's having to come up with the task of taking the legacy of material that we put together on the first 6 films and expand upon them. So I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, Dave, what does a sound designer do?
Well, the sound designer is pretty much as it sounds. He designs the sound for the movie, in this case, the TV show. He sort of runs the sound effects department, so you're kind of in charge of selecting what effect goes with what on-screen action. And you don't happen to have a practical effect for that, like spaceship, because they're not real. But you have to create that effect from scratch, and that could come from a number of different sources. The Twilight ship in the movie and in the show came from. It came from my washing machine, and I think it was like a 57 Chevy, a couple other things. So think of it sort of like a rough, because it's kind of a piece of junk. So we kind of want to make it sound like a really rough riding machine. That's sort of an example, I guess, of what we do in sound design. And we also come up with all the voice processing too.
Okay, so how did you get stuck? I mean, how did you acquire the part of Stinky, otherwise known as Rhoda or Rhoda?
That was sort of self-fulfilling. So what happened was they had the movie was originally separated as episodes. So when they were making the episodes for the show, there was this part of Rhoda, and what was the original idea was from Dave Filoni was to cut animal sounds into this thing, but I thought he's way too expressive. And he's got a face, and he's trying to convey ideas, and he's trying to, like, you know, at one point he tries to tell them, hey, there's a spaceship over there. And you really just can't do that with animal sounds, not in any way that I was happy with, so I recorded a tap voice for it. And they liked it, and they wanted to hear some alternate versions of that, and ultimately they decided to go with what I did. And I sort of got roundabout cast to do the part.
It may be your claim to fame.
Yeah.
Stinky. Yes, good. How do you do a Stinky sound? Let's hear it.
Yes.
No, well, no. I could, but I'd be embarrassed.
I was going to ask later tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Get me in the hotel later. Well, he's sort of the evolution of it was he kind of looks. Maybe I'm too old to.
Just do it.
But he's sort of like a. It's sort of like a. But he's pitched up, so it's sound like we did a version of it that Catherine Winder actually asked me to do. She wanted to hear like a version of it, which I actually really